What was supposed to be a night of celebration turned into disaster after 4 friends who were all drunk left the bar in the city without a designated driver. Designate a driver. Don't drink and drive.
This is your news source evening bulletin for today, Wednesday, the 30th day of October in the year 2024. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting, and here is what we're tracking tonight. The Caribbean Court of Justice has overturned decisions by the Guyana High Court and the Court of Appeal, which both render the sitting of 2 PPP candidates as parliamentary secretaries in the National Assembly to be illegal. With the CCJ's decision, the 2 parliamentary secretaries, Vikash Ramkissoon and Sarah Brown, will be able to continue in their role in the National Assembly. In their ruling, the High Court and the Court of Appeal had contended that Ramkissoon and Brown were not lawful members of the National Assembly, as their names appeared on their party's list of candidates for the last elections, and their names were not among the 33 names of persons extracted to take up seats in the Assembly. And as such, they are not eligible to take up seats as non-voting members of the Assembly by executive appointments as parliamentary secretaries. But in a unanimous decision today, the Caribbean Court of Justice ruled that the earlier case, which the lower courts based their decisions on, created some confusion as to who could sit in the National Assembly. Delivering the judgment, Justice Winston Anderson said the interpretation of the court is that elected members of the Assembly are those whose names are extracted from the successful list of candidates, whether as ordinary members or as parliamentary secretaries.
This interpretation allowed for a coherent and consistent application of the term throughout the Constitution. Additionally, this interpretation also aligns with the provisions of the Representation of the People Act. The appeal was therefore allowed, and the orders of the courts below were vacated.
Through their attorneys led by Senior Counsel Douglas Mendez, the government and the 2 candidates, Sarah Brown and Vikash Ramkissoon, argued that the Guyana Court of Appeal was wrong to throw them out of the National Assembly for being unlawful members, since their names, while on their party's list, were not among the 33 names extracted to take up seats in the Assembly. Brown and Ramkissoon's contention has been that they had been duly sworn in pursuant to Article 186(3) as non-voting members, since at the time of their appointments they were not already elected members of the Assembly. Their attorney also argued that both Brown and Ramkissoon are deemed to be member of the Assembly but not for voting purposes. Neither do they enjoy the perks of being a member of Parliament. Both the High Court and the Court of Appeal had based their rulings on a previous ruling by former Chief Justice, the late Ian Chang, in the Morian case, where he had ruled that persons who were on the list of candidates but not extracted were considered to be elected members of the Assembly. Chief Justice Roxanne George in her ruling had found that in accordance with the Morian case, the appointments of Ramkissoon and Brown and their membership of the Assembly were unlawful, and she ordered the Speaker to prevent them from sitting or participating in the business of the House. The appeal court had later affirmed that ruling by the acting Chief Justice. But with the ruling being overturned today, the Attorney General Anil Nandlal welcomed the CCJ's decision.
Constitutionalism, I believe, has won. Our Constitution has been made clearer, and going forward, we know how now to approach these matters whenever they arise.
The original case was first filed by Opposition Chief Whip Christopher Jones. More news coming up in just a moment.
It all starts with one. Maybe it's one look, you know the one, or one touch, even one word. It can start with one step, or one promise, one thrill, one first time, one deep breath, one leap of faith, one day to remember, or one night to forget. One moment, so many stories that make up one crazy, average, everyday, fabulous life. We get one life. Just one. Make your move. It all starts with one.
Your own home is so much more than just four walls, floors, and ceilings. It's a lifetime of great memories and stories. Come talk to us and start your journey home today.
Republic Bank, we're the one for you.
Is there anybody in this house want to worship the Lord with me?
Hi music fans, it's here again. It's the Gospel Music Awards 2024 and the launching of Charlene Maloney's new album titled He's Greater.
He's greater.
It's a double event, one night only. It's praise and worship at the National Cultural Center, Saturday, November 2nd at 8 p.m. or 20 hours sharp. Tickets cost $3,000 and $2,000. It's Gospel Music Awards and a concert. Special appearances by Ambassador Charlene Maloney and other top Guyanese artists. You cannot afford to miss this one. Be there.
Get your tickets at the National Cultural Center, Wireless Connections Border Market, and Andrew Supermarket.
Mobile fuels are made with our customers in mind. Mobile Synergy Supreme Plus is designed to help you protect your engine so that your vehicle can give you better mileage and better performance. When you choose Mobile Synergy Supreme Plus, you choose a fuel that will help keep your vehicle running at its best. Visit a mobile service station today and fuel up with Mobile Synergy Supreme Plus. Mobile trademarks are owned by ExxonMobil and used under license.
Let's tell you now that leader of the Alliance for Change, attorney Nigel Hughes, believes that Guyana is not too far away from a full breakdown in law and order due to the increasing lack of confidence in the Guyana police force. Mr. Hughes made the comment during a virtual panel discussion last evening. He said the Guyana police force, under the leadership of Acting Commissioner Clifton Hicken, is facing a serious crisis.
Well, I think everybody knows that the level of confidence in the Guyana police force, or certainly the leadership of the Guyana police force, is close to the floor. I don't know how you could possibly have anything looking like a modern country with the levels of scandals that are taking place in the Guyana police force at the upper level. It is clear, just where, and these allegations are not just coming from the citizenry, the police and their various compartments and departments are accusing each other of horrendous crimes.
Currently before the courts is Assistant Commissioner of Police Calvin Brutus. He is facing 240 criminal charges over a series of alleged financial crimes. Other senior officers within the force have also been accused of acts of corruption and of having links to the criminal underworld. They have all denied those allegations. Pointing to countries like Colombia and Mexico, where there has been a surge in crime and gang violence, the AFC leader warned that politics and crime should never mix. He said Guyana needs to take action before it is too late.
When you get to that stage of entrenchment of criminal activity and its relationship with politics, that you don't walk back from that. It's impossible to walk back. What you can hope to do is navigate as you go forward. And Guyana is at a stage where it is clear, just looking at what's going on in the head of the Guyana police force, generally, in the top brass and the numbers that are being called, what industries would do that? People who commit murder, and I suspect most of them, if they are wealthy enough, they will deal with the corruption at the police station. We're not going to deal with it up at the top. So we are in difficult waters.
The AFC leader also said the country is facing difficult times and it is time to change course. The Guyana Human Rights Association and the People's National Congress Reform have both made calls for a total overhaul of the Guyana police force. A row over a bicycle between two young boys ended in tragedy last evening in Sophia when 13-year-old Kareem Durant was brutally stabbed to death. The incident occurred just before 7 p.m. last evening, and while details are sketchy, the suspect is said to be an 11-year-old. According to family members, Durant and the other young boy were involved in an argument that quickly escalated into a fight over a bicycle. As the two shoved each other and got into a fight, eyewitnesses said the young 11-year-old armed himself with a scissors, which was used to stab Durant. The injured teen was rushed to the Georgetown Hospital's emergency room, but it was too late. He was pronounced dead by doctors on duty. We spoke to his sister today.
I got a phone call stating that Kareem gets stabbed. When I come to town and I go around the car now, after he gets stabbed, within the same minutes, I hear that he passed away, right? And he hurt. So when I come to town and I go around the car now, how far this story happened, it had two younger guys that was playing the afternoon with my brother and the suspects. So the Saturday was play fighting. And the play fight like somebody in a car, and it turned into a real fight. And the two brothers, which are the two suspects, they started to bank my brother and beat him up. And the big one, which is 16, hold my brother from behind, because he went inside and get a knife, the big brother. And he hold my brother from behind and tell his little brother to come and stab me, come and stab me.
Meanwhile, the father of the accused also spoke to News Source and expressed his regret over the incident.
I start to me son them, you had to keep out the problem, you had to keep out the problem. And this is the outcome. Me dissolve this. Me trying don't live with me, they live in the moral. Right? They don't live with me. I say, man, I really sorry that how it happened. Right? And I apologize. I give them the deepest sympathy. Because I don't the same problem.
The dead 13-year-old has been described as a normal youth who loved to play football and other sporting activities. He was an 8th grade student of the Dolphin Secondary School. A police investigation is underway tonight. Faced with a barrage of criticism over the current state of the Guyana Police Force, Vice President Barra Jagdeo today assured that the systems in place to detect and guard against corruption and money laundering are working. In the past few days, the opposition has cranked up its calls for the Guyana Police Force to be completely overhauled amidst widespread allegations of corruption at its helm. But while accusing the opposition of having a long history of controlling the police, Vice President Jagdeo today said it was the activation of the anti-money laundering laws by the Financial Intelligence Unit and the Special Organized Crime Unit that led to the accounts linked to Assistant Police Commissioner Brutus being flagged.
So if you go to a bank and you make a deposit that is above a threshold, or the bankers suspect that you're making a transfer that is of a suspicious nature, they have to file a suspicious transaction report with the FIU. This is what happens. It's not that they will refuse to take your money. They will take your money, put it into their account, and then they will file a suspicious transaction report with the FIU that this looks unusual. The FIU then does the investigation. The FIU, in this case, did the investigation. They sent the report to SOCO.
Mr. Jagdeo said that SOCO, without any executive interference, conducted an independent probe, and upon completion of that investigation, the file was sent to the Director of Public Prosecutions. According to Jagdeo, the government had also received complaints against the administration of the force, which also raised a red flag. It was explained that in one case, a mechanic who over a period of 4 years had repaired more than 150 vehicles for the force had not been paid, although the government had budgeted money for the police force to clear its outstanding debt with him.
But there are layers of safeguards, and sometimes people can breach the safeguards and the laws. That's why you have audit reports, you have internal audit, then you have other maybe departmental checks, etc. But ultimately, one of the safeguards against corruption is SOCO and FIU. And so the system, if you bypass one layer, you get caught at another layer. It means the system is working. You may go unnoticed for a while, But ultimately, the system will pick you up. And then also, GRA is part of that, because if you have unusual growth in assets, these reports then get sent back to the other bodies to look at.
Vice President Jagdeo said the country's anti-money laundering framework has been lauded by the Caribbean Financial Action Task Force for the strict measures contained in the anti-money laundering legislation.
We have just had a mutual evaluation by the CFATF. And they've confirmed that our situation in Guyana and that the legislation, the institutional framework, the policy, and the national strategy are consistent with international standards. That has just been confirmed. This is a major thing because you're evaluated based on international standards and based on comments from your peers. That just happened.
And he also said the government has demonstrated its commitment to holding everyone accountable, regardless of their status in the society. Vice President Jagdeo said the opposition has demonstrated what he believes is a clear lack of knowledge of the legislative framework in place and how it is operationalized, and has chosen rather to discredit the entire police force based on the action of a few.
The Guyana Elections Commission GCOM is currently conducting a national registration exercise. Who can register? Anyone who will be 14 years or older by December 31st, 2024 and is a Guyanese citizen by birth, descent, naturalization, or is a citizen from a Commonwealth country living in Guyana for 1 year or more. How to apply for registration? You must visit the GCOM registration office that is responsible for the registration of persons from your area of residence to apply for registration or name change or correction. You must be in possession of the following source documents as might be relevant: original birth certificate or valid Guyana passport for new registration, original marriage certificate and original birth certificate in the case of a name change by way of marriage, original deed poll and original birth certificate in the case of a name change by deed poll, original naturalization certificate and original birth certificate or valid passport in the case of naturalization. This registration exercise will end on November 29th, 2024. For further information, please contact GCOM on the following hotline numbers: 225-027729, 226-6557, 223-9650, or visit the GCOM website at www.gcom.org.gy.
Your own home is so much more than just 4 walls, floors, and ceilings. It's a lifetime of great memories and stories. Come talk to us and start your journey home today.
Republic Bank, we're the one for you.
Declaring that the current electoral system has little room for error, Attorney General Anil Nandlal has again shut down a suggestion by opposition-nominated Commissioner at GCOM, Vincent Alexander, and the opposition for there to be a biometric system for voting, as well as a clean voters list before the next general and regional elections. During his weekly broadcast, Issues in the News, Mr. Nandlal said while he welcomes the use of technology, he does not believe that Guyana is ready for voting using those methods. He said issues such as power outages or a system trip could throw an election into turmoil.
If I go and I put my finger on the machine and for whatever reason the machine malfunctions, you telling me that I will be denied my right to vote? You are telling me that I will be denied my right to vote? That is what I am not opposed to any form of technology. But the manual system is working. Why you want to resort to technology where things can go wrong in a country like Guyana?
In a letter to the press yesterday, GCOM Commissioner Vincent Alexander put forward the view that digital fingerprint identification at the place of poll provides a universally accepted and used mechanism that would prevent voter impersonation. Mr. Alexander said fingerprints are not forgeable. Digitally capturing those prints will not be sub-quality, as may occur in the instance of some manually captured prints. He said faulty fingerprints are rejected by the software when the prints are being captured digitally. Hence the rationale for and the benefit of capturing fingerprints digitally in the registration process. But Mr. Nandlal brushed aside the contention of Mr. Alexander.
This is a bizarre contention. How is it possible for a ballot to be cast for in the name of a person who is not present? It means that someone purported to be the person whose name is on the list. How is that possible, having regard to all the mechanisms that were present and in place at the polling place?
But the Attorney General also said the issue of the voters list has been canvassed and noted that the list has been used in previous elections without any issues, according to him. The Guyana Police Force has been advised to conduct an inquest into the death of 27-year-old Jonathan Gomes, who passed away tragically in an accident involving a sand truck 5 months ago. In response to queries from news source, the Public Relations Department of the police force indicated this morning that the investigation into the accident, which occurred back in May, was completed in July and advice was sought. The legal advice instructed that an inquest be carried out. The inquest is to be carried out by a magistrate in the division where the accident occurred, which would be in Myconi. The police PR office stated that the inquest has not yet started, but the police in Regional Division 5 will be seeking a date from the magistrate for the inquest to be conducted. The inquest will be held under the Coroner's Act, and the magistrate who will act as the coroner will be able to call witnesses and examine the evidence in the case to determine the cause of death. Family members of the dead young man have been pressing for the police to conduct a detailed investigation and for justice to be done in the matter. Gomes was driving his motor car heading towards Georgetown when a sand truck heading in the opposite direction slammed into him. Initially, the police report of the incident claimed that the young man had overtaken several vehicles and ended up in the path of the truck. However, investigators were unable to find witnesses to back up that claim, and the only statement related to that claim came from the driver of the truck, according to sources familiar with the investigations. Gomes worked in the oil and gas sector and was preparing to continue classes in his quest to become a pilot. The second diaspora job fair will be hosted in Naikari, Suriname this coming Saturday to target Guyanese living in the neighboring country. The first job fair took place in New York a few months ago. The upcoming event will see the collaboration between the government of Guyana and the private sector to host several companies in Naikari interested in tapping into the diaspora to fill critical labor gaps in Guyana. In a statement, the Department of Public Information noted that most notably, businesses in the Berbice region will be involved in the event in Naikari. Representatives from a number of government ministries and agencies will also attend the event and present the various projects being undertaken by the government and opportunities available in the public sector. Foreign Secretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Robert Prasad, said the upcoming event in Suriname represents a pivotal moment for the nation as the government seeks to harness the skills and expertise of the diaspora community. He said it is very clear to all that Guyana's unprecedented growth is posing a massive challenge to fill the labor gaps as quickly as they are being created. The job fair will allow direct engagement with representatives from leading companies, government agencies, and non-profit organizations, all offering a diverse range of employment opportunities and valuable insights into the remigration process.
GCOM is currently conducting a national registration exercise. Who can register? Anyone who will be 14 years or older by December 31, 2024 and is a Guyanese citizen by birth, descent, naturalization, or is a citizen from a Commonwealth country living in Guyana for 1 year or more. Where to apply for registration? You are required to visit the registration office that is responsible for the registration of persons in your area of residence to apply for registration. Office hours, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 12 hours, 13 hours to 16 hours 30, and Friday from 8 to 12 hours and 13 to 15 hours 30. The offices will be closed on weekends and holidays. This registration exercise will end on November 29, 2024. For further information, contact the GCOM on 225-027729 or visit the website www.gcom.org.gy.
What was supposed to be a night of celebration turned into disaster after 4 friends who were all drunk left the bar in the city without a designated driver. Designate a driver. Don't drink and drive.
It all starts with one. Maybe it's one look. You know the one. Or one touch. Even one word. I can start with one step. Or one promise. One thrill. One first time. One deep breath. One leap of faith. One day to remember. Or one night to forget. One moment. So many stories that make up one crazy, average, everyday, fabulous life. We get one life. Just one. Make your move. It all starts with one.
Guyana's economy is rapidly transforming, and we're all part of it. Guyana is at the forefront of this development by providing reliable and efficient energy and supporting community development from the very core. 100% of Guyana's profit goes back to building schools, roads, and other important infrastructure that connects our cities and towns, providing fuel to domestic, marine, industrial, and aerial transportation. Guyana has now repositioned itself as a market leader in the petroleum industry, building a better future for all of us.
Across the region tonight in Trinidad and Tobago, the Minister of Finance there, Com Imbert, said yesterday that foreign exchange window opened by the Exim Bank for wholesale importers of basic foods and pharmaceuticals during the COVID-19 pandemic was a temporary initiative. In a news release yesterday morning, he said the addition of a second foreign exchange window at the Exim Bank for essential imports during the pandemic cannot create a situation where 4 years later the government is being held liable by certain private sector businessmen for the items they ordered and received without paying for them. Imbert made the points apparently in response to an article in the last Sunday Express, which quoted some anonymous businessmen as saying that they received between $350,000 and $400,000 a month from the Exim Bank, and the last time there was a release was about 2 months ago. The finance minister said once enrolled in the foreign exchange window, clients submit their trade invoices together with the requisite Trinidad and Tobago dollars. Subsequently, the Exim Bank wires the US dollars directly to the international suppliers for settlement. The local company does not receive US dollars directly, he explained. Tonight, Nation News in Barbados is reporting that Barbados has maintained its high Vista satisfaction rating from cruise ship passengers. It landed a very satisfied score of 8.2 out of 10 from cruise visitors who responded to a survey of the latest economic contribution of cruise tourism to the destination economy study. This is the identical score Barbados received in the most recent survey in 2018 from the research conducted on behalf of the Florida Caribbean Cruise Association and 33 destinations, including Barbados. Cruise passengers were satisfied with their overall visit to Barbados, the report found. Guided tours received a very satisfied mean score of 8.6. The report also said that among the other key conclusions concerning visitor satisfaction was passenger interaction, with residents and storekeepers and employees very positive as the mean scores for friendliness. And finally tonight, international news. At least 62 people have died in flash floods in southeastern Spain, the regional government has reported. There are still hundreds of people missing and others still trying to get to safety. Some locations in southern and eastern Spain received up to 12 inches of rain in just over a few hours on Tuesday. Footage from one city showed muddy water flooding through the streets, tearing down walls and sweeping away parked cars. In some towns, the water could be seen spilling onto the streets. The sheer amount of rain that fell meant many were taken by surprise, with people finding themselves trapped in their basements or first floors and unable to get to safety. The region was thrown into a state of complete chaos, with most highways becoming completely unusable. Vehicles that had been left abandoned in traffic were picked up by the water and moved around. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting and encouraging you to have a safe and enjoyable night and a happy Diwali.